nibs, holders, inks, and paper. Tools can be so intimidating, and today we're going to chat through the tools any beginner will need to pick up calligraphy, and some tips that will upgrade your practice. Hi, I am Sky Blue Jenny. Thanks for being a part of my YouTube channel where I talk about graphic design, typography, and productivity. Calligraphy for me is a gateway into understanding typography and graphic design a little bit better because you start looking at things like proportions. So I'm going to share with you the ones that I've used in the 4 years of me doing calligraphy that have been really helpful and are very useful in my practice. Just as a note, all of the tools and products that we're going to be talking about will be included in the description below. We're going to start off with ink, and the first one that I'm going to suggest is Sumi ink. More specifically, I use Moon Palace Sumi ink, and this comes in a variety of different sizes from John Neal Books. They come in a giant bottle that I use for my classes, and I get a big vat of that. I got a medium-sized one as well, and they also have a smaller one, a smaller little vial that you can use to dip your nib directly into. And I love the variety of different sizes. I use them for totally different things. And here's a little tip for ones when you get the medium or the large size. Use a dropper to transfer the ink into a smaller vial, and this makes it a little bit easier for you to manage with your nib and writing in the paper. It helps transfer and limit the amount of ink that you're actually using because you don't use very much whenever you're practicing. I actually use a custom one that my husband made for me, and I also have the ones that are called dinky dips. They come with little plastic lids as well, and you can insert that into a little wood block or a piece of clay, and these are really great for storing a lot of ink on hand, and they're also very cheap. So I would recommend using a dropper to transfer all of your ink into a smaller vial like the dinky dip. Winsor & Newton also has a black India ink that has a dropper already attached to it, so then you can just transfer the ink directly into things like dinky dips. Another type of ink that I like to use a lot is a combination of gouache and watercolor. This is about any paints that I already have in hand. A little tube of gouache can go a long way for creating a really vibrant ink. You just add some water and you mix it to the right consistency that will flow really nicely on your pen. So this will just take a little bit of experimentation for you on how much or how little you really need to use. I also use watercolor palettes as well for things like gold or silvers, things that just don't really come very frequently in ink. So all you need to do is drop a couple drops of water and apply directly onto your nib using a little brush. And this is a very foolproof way of using vibrant colors or glitter colors in your calligraphy. If you are interested in using things like gouache and watercolor in a more professional piece, you're going to need something like gum arabic to affix all of the pigments from the colors. Moving on to paper. I like to use a grid paper for most of my practicing. I use a Rhodia grid pad with grid paper, and this is really great. This handles the ink for the Sumi ink very well, and it's smooth, and it's already getting you thinking about things like proportions because they have units that are consistent on all the pages, and you don't have to draw a new baseline every time you start a new page. Another solution of paper is the copperplate pad that have already a 30-degree slant. This is also from John Neal Book. This is really useful because it already includes something like the 30-degree slant that is very useful in copperplate and also helping maintain consistent strokes. And I think maintaining consistency in your strokes is what makes your calligraphy look a lot better. And the last paper that I would recommend is the HP Premium 32 printer paper, and this is available on Amazon, and it's a blank ream of paper. And what I do is I tend to print any guidelines on this. You can actually find the free copperplate guide with guidelines available on my website and also in the description below. Maybe you already have some of these tools and you didn't even know it. Give it a shot. Try some watercolor, try some of your printer paper. See if any of these are already good candidates for you to use for calligraphy, and let me know in the comments below that they're working really well for you already. Next up, we're going to talk about nib holders, and these come in a variety of sizes and shapes, and we have things like the Oblique, versus the straight. Now the oblique looks like this. It helps with the 30-degree slant, especially for people who are right hand dominant. That's because you need the nib to go at an angle, and for righties it's a little bit harder for us to do that naturally. So using an oblique nib holder actually helps with maintaining that 30-degree slant. So this is the straight holder. This is also very used for people who want to be a little bit more freeform with their strokes and have a light touch, and also for lefties who already can do the 30-degree slant with relative ease. Something that I would like to suggest as a tip for you: use a handle that works best for your style, and that's not just with the writing style. I would suggest getting something that you especially love to use. I have this resin oblique holder, and not only is it slightly chunkier than most nib holders, but this one, because it's chunkier, it actually helps me with control. I tend to squeeze really hard when it comes to writing, and having something chunkier makes me squeeze a little bit less. Also, it's really cute. It kind of this marbling kind of reminds me of like the sky or like clouds or something like that. So even a cute handle will help you maintain some discipline, will make you enjoy writing a little bit more, and it just kind of evokes your own personal style. Next up, we're going to talk about nibs. Now, the nib that I would like to recommend is one that I purchased for all of my calligraphy classes, and that is the Nico G. And that is because the Nico G actually has a lot of stiffness for beginners, and as you're starting out in your calligraphy and you're still learning to maintain the difference between a thick and how thin your strokes need to be, the Nico G is really easy for you to control. Just understand what pressure is and what a light touch would look like. If you want to upgrade, you can use something like a Browse 361, aka the Blue Pumpkin, and this can be a step up. Once you practice a little bit with the Nico G and you feeling confident and you want to step out into something with a little bit more flexibility, the Browse 361 is a really good option for adding more flex and a little bit more contrast. It's a little bit softer, but the problem and the caveat with that is that with something that has a little bit more flex, your ink is going to run out of your pen a little bit faster. And these are all dip pens, so it's going to make it a little bit, you're gonna have to dip a lot more frequently when you're using your nib. Just as a little heads up, all nibs actually come with a clear coating when they're shipped that cause the ink to bead in weird places when you're first using it, and this is just to help you protect and maintain the metal that comes on the nib. And what I used to do when I first started out was I would run like a little like a lighter and run a quick flame underneath it, and that would normally do the job. But I found that if you hold it under for too long, it can damage the nib a little bit. So if you're feeling a little cautious and you don't want to ruin your nibs quite yet, if you just purchased them, I would do things like brush the film off with like a toothpaste, wipe it with some Windex. Some people I've heard have also used things like a potato because it has starch properties that can help remove the clear film off of it. But these are all different ways on which you can prepare your nib so that when you're starting to write, it doesn't create any weird beading. I don't want you to have to go through stuff like that when it's just the surface of the nib. Another type of nib is actually one that has no flex at all. That is something like a fountain pen. Most fountain pens, they don't have any flex to them. There is no contrast between the thicks and the thins. So all of the strokes are going to be the same type of weight. They're all going to be monoline. It has a very consistent stroke weight. Those are really great if you're just starting out with just maintaining the kind of shapes of your letters. There are a lot of fountain pens that are coming out with more flexible nibs that produce the same lines, but they're very few. But I would recommend just starting out with a dip pen just so you can start getting into the habit of understanding the difference between thicks and thins and doing it with discipline. So do you already have everything that you need to start calligraphy? Let me know in the comments below if you have some really cool calligraphy tools that you love and want to share them with me. Hit me up on Instagram, and I will see you on the next video.